Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu, and now we are going to be talking about Deion Sanders and how he believes Colorado can make it into the 2024-25 CFP.
All
Um,
right. I would first off, I would love to see Dion make it to the college football playoff. I'm just going to come out right out the top of that. But I'll let you go ahead and go ahead.
the always optimistic Deion Sanders sees no reason why Colorado can't challenge for a spot in the college football playoffs next season. Sanders says the Buffaloes most definitely can be a playoff team in 2024. The path to the college football playoff will be easier next season when the field expands to 12 teams. It will be interesting to see how Colorado fares in Sanders' second year as head coach, and in the new conference, the Buffaloes are moving back to the Big 12 after spending the past 13 seasons in the Pac 12. So,
Okay. I think this is a great opportunity for Dion. Last year, a lot of people they were super excited about Dion and the Colorado Buffaloes last year, and they started out great with the first four games, and then they just crashed and burned down the stretch. Okay, first off, for most people who do not follow college football or are a casual follow college football fan, a lot of people look at Dion's first year as a complete failure, and it wasn't. It was an
mm,
absolute success. It was a smashing success, and I'm going to explain to you why it was a smashing success. Colorado was the worst team in the nation the year before.
mm-hmm,
They were borderline a not I mean a group of five team. They did not have Division I caliber players. Dion came in there and through the transfer portal and some hard recruiting was able to put together a team that really performed incredibly well. And when you look at the team, going up against and beating Nebraska, beating Colorado State, competing with the games that they played and that they won and the games that they lost. The first four games they did really well, and then their season collapsed.
mm,
Well, this is what happens in football. When you look at a team like Colorado, which was a glorified group of five team, there's about 100 players on the team. Dion was able to recruit quality starting players last year, but was not able to recruit enough players so that the bench were still lower level players.
mm-hmm,
So when in a game of football that's very physical, when you have players that are injured or playing injured, they don't have the backups to fill in. So once those guys started to get injured and they started filling in with players that were much lower caliber, the quality of the play definitely slid. And you saw that throughout the year as they were incredibly strong in the first four games, and then they went on this massive losing streak. That was because as players started going out, you're replacing a five-star, four-star player with a zero-star player or a one-star player. And the caliber of play is going to fall off. And that's kind of what happened last year. Not to mention, Dion and the Colorado Buffaloes had one of the toughest schedules in college football. I mean, it was brutal. The USC, the Oregons, Nebraska, they had this incredibly tough schedule, one of the toughest in the nations, and they only got blown out by two games. There was two games that they weren't in, so they had a shot at winning every game but two, and that's what Dion is talking about this year. They went out and they recruited. They ended up getting more. They ended up getting five-star offensive line player, a lot of four-star players. This year they have a lot more depth. Now you're looking at now they're in the Big 12. which their schedule is a lot easier. From having one of the toughest schedules in the country last year to now having a much easier schedule. It's a more of a middle of the pack, or might I say, a little bit on the easier side. They're gonna get a lot more wins. Now, when you're talking about making the college football playoffs, you're gonna look at and you're gonna say, when you look at that schedule, there's not a lot of room for Deion and the Colorado Buffaloes to make it to the playoffs. You're only going to be able to lose 2 games, maybe 3. If you lose 3 games, that means you're going to have to win the Big 12. Will the Big 12 winner, if the Big 12 winner gets there and it's a three loss season and Deion and the Colorado is actually contending for the Big 12 championship, then they have a shot because teams like Arizona, they're going to have a say. Utah is going to have a say. Those type of teams, Colorado, Kansas State. But I think Deion and the Colorado Buffaloes will be in there. I don't know if they have enough to actually get them into the playoff picture, but I think they're going to contend all the way to the end of the year for that Big 12 championship game. And that's the key that we're looking at. Now, I know, and the Big 12 is not the SEC. The Big 12 is not the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start looking at what they're doing, I think it really does help them. And you're familiar with what Deion has done in Colorado. You saw them. It was a big buzz with him.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts with this?
I even if they don't do as well this year as Deion says they're going to, he still made like a big impact last year because they were
Massive.
Not good at all. And Deion's first season, the team went 4-8, which is a lot better than what they were a year prior.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure if they're going to get into the college playoff this coming year. But if Deion keeps doing what he's doing and helping the team improve, I don't see why they can't get in the playoff soon, like in the coming years.
And when you're talking about, when you, like, I'm going to use kind of what your words were.
Mm-hmm.
When you said they were not good. The situation is they went from a team that was, they went from I think they were like 1-11 the year before, losing on an average a 20-point a game loss. I mean, every team they played, I think except for Cal, blew them out by almost 20 points or more.
Mm-hmm.
So they went from a team that was getting blown out by 20 points or more to winning their first 4 games of the year. Yes, they went on a big slide and they lost 7 or 8 in a row. But those games, they were super competitive and they didn't go on that losing streak until players started getting injured. Once they're, because they didn't have that depth. They didn't have that second string or third string player that was going to be a 3-star athlete that was going to come in, or a 4-star athlete. Like with Georgia, using Georgia because I know you're a big Georgia fan, when the starting linebacker for Georgia goes down, or you have to pull him out to rest, or he has a hip injury or knee injury, which he can't play at his peak. If you're Georgia, you just say, okay, we're going to sit you down, we're going to allow you to heal up, and we're going to bring in this other 4 or 5-star guy that's going to fill in, that's almost as good as you are, that's all-American.
Right.
When Deion has he's not dealing with 5-star guy, he's dealing with a 4-star guy, and it's like, hey, my 4-star guy is injured, but his backup is a 1-star or a 0-star player. And it's kind of like, well, this guy injured is better than the backup, so he's going to play injured.
Mm-hmm.
But his quality of play, he's playing injured. He's playing like a two-star guy, which is still better than the backup.
Yeah.
But you're not going to compete on that same level.
Yeah. I think if Deion just starts to stack up the team a little bit, I don't know if he can do that this year
He
very
has
well.
done that.
Oh, has he?
Oh yes, he everyone's been talking about Ole Miss and what they've done in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the team with the third most players transferring in from other teams in the transfer portal. Well, one thing that people aren't talking about, and they're talking about Lane Kiffin, the transfer portal Kiffin, and how amazing, what a great job he's done by bringing in the transfer portal. Guess what? There's a guy out here that blew them away as far as bringing in transfer portal guys, and that is Deion Sanders. Colorado had the #1 transfer portal class in the nation. And I mean, solid. Their receiving core may be the best receiving core in the nation. Deion Sanders, who is Deion's son, he will contend for the not for the national championship. He will contend for the Heisman Trophy this year. Mark my word, he will be one of the top 3 or 4 players in college football contending for the national champion, for the Heisman Trophy. Keep saying national championship. Talking about Georgia on that one. But I mean, loaded defensively. They have solid defensive backs. They've improved. Where Colorado was incredibly weak at was that offense and defensive line, and that has been a focus for Deion, is to fix that offensive defensive line, and he has done that. He brought in the #1 high school recruit in the nation on offensive line, and then he loaded up with a bunch of transfer portal players. So this year they have the depth. This is why I say they can contend for the college football playoff. And I would rather see a situation where Deion is contending. The big focus is, can he contend for the Big 12 championship? That's a tall order. I have the Big 12 championship going to Utah. That's their first. Utah and Arizona is going to be their first year in the Big 12, just like Colorado. All 3 of them are coming over from the Pac-12. Utah and Arizona, I think, are going to be the cream of the crop. Deion, I can see them being a step behind there, but if they're in that, if the roof is trying to be contending for the Big 12 championship, and let's say Deion falls short, he doesn't make it, but he stays ranked and he makes a major bowl. Mm-hmm. To go from 2 years ago, the absolute worst team in the nation, getting blown out by a margin of 20 points or more. The year before that, worst team in the nation, still getting blown out by a margin. And the year before that, worst team in the nation. So you have an all-decade worst team in the nation, mm-hmm. and now he's taking it from that to going from 1 win to 4 wins, from 4 wins to contending for the college football playoffs and possibly making a strong bowl. That's a win. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think is very dangerous, because if Deion starts to win and he shows a massive improvement, the floodgates are already coming in where people want to play for Deion. Imagine if Deion starts to win. What happens then? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how their season goes for them this year then. Maybe I'll tune into some Colorado games and see how well they do this.
Oh yeah, we gotta tune in for a Colorado game, and depending on how things go, I would love to catch a Colorado game this year. Before moving, I used to go to a lot of college games, and that is on my radar, to catch a Colorado game. Georgia's not on the list right now.
Well, it should be, because Sanford Stadium is so much fun.
Oh no! Listen. We're going to talk college football. I'm going to tell you this right now. I got Ohio State as the best team in the nation. Mm-hmm. I got Colorado as no, I got Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Colorado 3. I think Colorado is stacked. And most people are going to put Colorado, not, I keep saying Colorado now, Georgia at 3. I apologize. I have Georgia at 3. Here's the reason why, since she's from Georgia and she's a big Georgia fan. I was totally against Georgia. I wanted Georgia to lose last year in the worst way. I didn't. I thought they had one of the easiest schedules in the nation, and they were one of the most stacked teams. So when they lost, I was like, I didn't want that to happen. This year, Georgia is stacked, but it went the opposite direction. Georgia's schedule is a beast. They have a really hard schedule. Georgia may be the most complete team. Georgia or Ohio State may be the most complete team. I have Georgia number 3 strictly because that schedule is going to be so tough. So that's why I have Georgia at number 3. But I think they are the most complete team in the nation, Ohio State and Georgia. Well, we snuck in a segment here about college football that you weren't even expecting.
I'm biased. I always think Georgia is the best team in the nation.
Oh no, they are. They are with Alabama losing Saban and losing almost 48 players.
Yeah, that's
a ton of players left after Saban announced his retirement. Georgia and Ohio State are clearly head and shoulders above everyone else.
The talk in Georgia is that Georgia is the new Alabama. I hear that all the time now. So
I don't know if they're going to be depending on what happens this year. If Georgia goes through the schedule, Georgia wins the national championship, then they have a shot. But no team, mark my word on this one. You can tell all your friends in Georgia that that's not going to happen. There will never be another Alabama Crimson Tide run again in college football, ever. 3 reasons why. Name, image, and likeness. There's a lot of teams out there. There's a lot of boosters out there that have a lot of money, like Ohio State, where they spent over $16 million bringing in players. Okay, that's the first thing. Schools like Texas and Oregon, that Nike money with Oregon, the oil money with Texas, that's going to happen. Then transfer portal. Georgia gets a lot of players that are going to be that are NFL caliber guys. You know you're an NFL caliber guy. You're going to go play for Georgia. You're all excited. And spring ball happens and you find out, hey, we thought you were going to be the starting linebacker for Georgia, but sorry, there's 2 other guys that are just as good as you. We're going to make you the second or third string guy. That guy's going to transfer out of Georgia and go to Alabama or Ohio State or Michigan. That's where things are going to change. And then you mix in the fact that it's no longer 2 or 4 teams that are in the playoffs. It's 12 teams, and teams like Georgia, which could be the best team in the nation, you just have to have one bad night during the playoffs because there's so many teams in there. If you have any bad nights, you're not making it. And a team like Georgia, which, like I said, this year, most stacked team in the nation, Georgia. But when you have that tough schedule, and now you have to survive 12 other players in the playoff teams in the playoff. Too many things can happen to make it too hard to go on a Nick Saban run. That's what I see.
Right. Well, we'll see.
You're like, I don't like what you're saying, and I don't agree with it either.
We ran a little long for this one, but
it's your fault. You brought up Georgia.
But we're going to take a quick break, guys, and then when we come back, we're going to dive into our oddities of the day.